students of Reddit, has anyone in your online classes had an OSHT moment after realizing their mic camera was still on? If so, what were they doing? My kiddo's a student. His teacher had a kids doing show and tell today. My kiddo decides to use his older brother for his show and tell bit. And yells for him without mentioning that he's in class with the webcam on and everything. So 20-year-old big brother comes trotting into camera view down the hallway. All shirtless and hairy. And I gather managed to embarrass himself and surprise all the kids too. I saw him go running back down the hallway to put on more clothes before properly saying hi to the kids. One of my classmates was talking to someone off screen about how shitty the class is and how stupid our lecturer is. Her mic and camera were both on. She was rambling for about 30 seconds when the lecturer just said her name. She just looked over at her screen. Leaned forward a tad. Then her eyes went wide and she covered her mouth. She immediately left the meeting. Haven't seen her in class since. This was 2 weeks ago. Just today. This one guy had some unholy screeching coming through the mic from elsewhere in the house. No context. He just had a mildly panicked look on his face and muted himself. Was just finishing up a game of Go as I was joining a Zoom. Got pretty heated with the trash talk and I told my friend he could literally eat my entire ass. Closed the game and hopped over to the Zoom. Only to see my teacher and whole class in complete silence and shock. I'd forgotten to hit the mute button as I'd joined the meeting. Edit. For context. I'm usually super quiet in class and rarely speak aloud. So this was a pretty big shocker for everyone. Not in my class. Someone was unmuted while they started talking shitty about someone else in the class before the teacher muted them. In my class. Someone's mom came in and started yelling in Spanish. It was awkward BC. At first the teacher thought they'd been trying to ask a question, so she said what and for quiet for a minute while everyone just listened. During an all-school meeting, a teacher and his wife got in an argument and you could hear them yelling at each other. Well, one of the few times I did online school I thought my mic was muted until I f***ing sneezed and the teacher got all pissy at me. You should have sneezed in between classes. Our maths teacher is terrifying but doesn't really know how to work a computer. He was messing everything up and kept accidentally muting himself and stuff. Anyway, this girl in my class forgot to mute herself and basically spent a good 2 minutes dissing him with an impressive range of obscenities. At some point she realized that she was broadcasting her extremely low opinions of our teacher to the entire class. The teacher was very unhappy and the girl immediately left the class. Someone in one of our huge official department meetings was unmuted. You could hear her BF ask in the background, "What are y'all doing?" And she said, "Just this stupid meeting. We not doing shit." It was hilarious. She got kicked out of the meeting though. Not exactly forgot the camera was on, but forgot their surroundings. Webcam starts up. And there's just a massive DLDO on the bed beside where this person was sitting. Back behind them. I've never felt so badly for an instance of poor forgetfulness. I accidentally did this to my daughter. She was participating in a Zoom uni tutorial. Half an hour earlier I had started trying to fix our clothes dryer which had stopped spinning and was giving off a burning smell. I took the dryer apart and after looking up several YouTube videos managed to fix it. I was so proud of myself I burst into my daughter's room and said, "Guess who fixed the dryer?" Me with my arms spread out wide. My daughter was mortified and said, "Mum, I'm in a uni lecture." Afterwards she told me the professor told her to tell me she was very happy that I was so happy I fixed the dryer. Not in school. But a few years ago during online training for my job. Our managers agreed we could do the training at home since it was all remote anyway. And so it was a nice week working from home. During one of the sessions we heard what sounded like PRN. Then it got louder and louder. Finally the presenter says, "Okay, we see who is unmuted." I'm not going to name names but let's be professional here. The poor guy couldn't look any of us in the eye after we returned to work. Girl started to full on make out with her boyfriend. I mean under the shirt. Heading to third base type shitty. I was browsing social media as one does in the middle of a lecture. Then expressed surprise at something I saw on there to my GF. Little did I know my mic was on and the teacher stopped class to ask what I said. Holy shitty. Excuse me? I'm just really excited about history. My girlfriend told me a story of her taking an online Zoom pilots class at the beginning of everything shutting down. The Zoom meeting was set up in presenter instead of gallery mode, so whoever is speaking is on the main screen. She said in one of the poses someone farted and their camera popped up on the screen for everyone until the next instruction. Super awkward. Edit. Wow, thank you everyone. Not exactly, but I did have a student who obviously walked away in a call. We predominantly use Teams for our video calls and it'll show you who is in a meeting and how long it is going for. I go through the teaching of the content and then I will always say if you know what needs to be done, you're welcome to leave the call. If not, hang around and I'll answer your questions. All the students leave except one. I ask him how he's going and he doesn't reply. I ask again. Still no reply. So I left the call and timed how long he was still in there. The kid was still in the call for another 45 minutes before he came back and realized everyone was gone. Still sent me a message asking what they needed to do. Edit. Also, thanks for the cake day wishes. I had no clue it was today. Thought it was like 2 weeks ago. Also, I didn't know this question was targeted to students, so my bad. My 7th grade daughter turned on her Zoom meeting for her very first class on her first day of school. Saw the face of the student who was currently talking. And yelled, "Not Victoria. I hate Victoria." I asked her if her mic was muted and she looked at her screen horrified. Slammed her laptop shut. Ran out of the room yelling, "I quit school." It was a rough first day. Teacher was teaching online class, grinds, which are extracurricular. There was a ton of audio issues and people kept saying they couldn't hear him. Eventually he said that we would postpone the class to a couple days later. And that we could all leave the meeting now. Of course. I'm pretty sure this isn't the most tech savvy guy. So he didn't realize that most of us couldn't tell he said to leave, audio issues again, and so we hung around a couple more minutes. Somehow, it was a lot more audible when he tossed his glasses onto the table and said, "That was a f***ing disaster." I then realized that it was time to go. Edit. Hey. My first 2 awards ever. Thanks. Kind strangers. Once my very adorable classmate sang happy birthday so cheerfully while our prof was discussing. She only noticed it when she came back to class and saw our reactions in the chat. It was her dog's birthday. She said then apologized for it. Oh shit, real quick. Just yesterday, kid was talking to his friend about how stupid the class was. Teacher stops and waits for him to finish. It takes them a second to realize that it's silent now. He asks if they are done. Sorry professor. Muted. Cue the text chat in the server dying with laughter at him. Just yesterday had a classmate that was dead asleep. Like, head bobbing. Open mouth asleep. This went on for about 15 minutes before he woke up. Noticed the camera was on and quickly turned it off. It was too late. The prof had already made some remarks. And the lecture's recorded for later viewing. I thought I had muted myself and I was just doing my work and singing "I'll Make a Man Out of You" from Mulan because I had it stuck in my head. Then I looked at my computer and realized I wasn't muted and then quickly said, "Oh sorry, I accidentally unmuted myself," and the teacher said no worries and I could hear her laugh a little. I wanted to curl up and just lie in a hole. Lol. My church is still doing Zoom church. Apparently a guy didn't realize his wife was still in Zoom church when he stepped in full view of the camera. Totally naked. I only know this because he said so. So luckily I don't think anyone noticed. We also have a time at the end for people to unmute themselves if they want to say hi. Someone unmuted himself. Apparently thought it didn't work. And yelled, "I don't know how to do this shitty." That one girl on Twitter who forgot to change her name from Big Titty Bitch still makes me laugh. Not a teacher, but my wife is. She said that anytime she is in her class live stream our 4-year-old will go use the potty and yell at her, "I'm done." Or anytime she smells something bad she will come up and ask her, "Did you toot?" I asked her if she did and that's why she is asking. She denies it, but I think otherwise. I don't use camera with my work meetings, but one of our cats gets very jealous whenever someone's talking on a phone and not paying attention to her. So for the first couple weeks, anytime I had to interact on a call, Maui would be climbing all over me and meowing. It got so bad that my boss started asking if Maui had any input at the end of each meeting. A lot of my co-workers thought it was hilarious. She's gotten used to it now, though. So it's only maybe once a week that she comes to interrupt. Now. Not a student, but a few months ago we were on a Zoom meeting about the release of a big project me and the rest of the dev team have been working on since January. I was muted, as 90% of the folk in the meeting, and I was bored. So I started scrolling and seeing the faces of everyone that had their cameras on. A lady was watching the meeting with her webcam on and her husband walked in naked from the bathroom. Her face was unforgettable. She immediately turned her cam off. Just me and another co-worker noticed the incident. Not exactly an ushti moment, but one of my classmates was getting dogged and pestered by the teacher, and eventually just breaks and starts cussing her out with everything he's got. The teacher just falls silent and stares at him. This happened last semester, right when Zoom class started to be a thing. I think it was actually like my 3rd day of online class. My cat tried to jump off a desk and onto the bed, but there was a towel underneath him, so he slipped and fell. He then proceeded to scream laugh at him, and within seconds received a text message from my friend that my mic was on. We had a girl that had constant mic and video issues, and when her mic did work it was always out of sync and she would never respond on time to answer a question. The one time her mic was actually on and working she was singing to herself in the background and she wasn't responding to the teacher calling her name, so we just muted her for the rest of the class. It's me. I'm the student. It happened yesterday actually. My buddy and I like to chat over Discord while attending classes. Yesterday we were discussing almost to the point of screaming about the NBA playoffs. I don't have any horse in that race since my Spurs didn't make it this year, but we were speculating which teams are going to make the finals. My bet was Lakers v Heat and I made a very long and somewhat loud argument defending my prediction that my whole class got to hear because I accidentally left the Zoom mic open. There was a very awkward silence followed by laughter from my classmates and my teacher, whose face screamed second-hand embarrassment. One of my classmates told me that they listened to me in silence for a solid 30 seconds before I realized. My mate does IT for a private school and they had issues with kids anonymously drawing dick pics in group Zoom meetings. In 8th grade our math teacher had this fancy new speaker and mic set installed in our classroom because apparently he had vocal cord issues and this way he could speak at a lower volume and not stress his voice box. So of course, he went to the bathroom and left his mic on. A class of 38th graders heard his entire bowel movement and bathroom ritual, including humming while washing his hands. The look on that poor man's face when he came back and realized the mic was on. Anyways, soon after he decided that due to technical issues he would no longer need the sound system and he just lectured normally. I'm 30 now and sometimes still feel bad for the guy. We were cruel. I had a fan sitting on my desk. I put my feet on my desk to sit comfortably. I accidentally kicked the fan of my desk. It fell on the floor with a loud bang. I was startled and cursed. And I heard my teacher laughing and asking if everything was okay. I then realized I had my microphone and camera on. So they heard the bang. And saw as well as heard me cursing. This spring in an online classes we had group presentations. One group was doing really poorly. One of the members gets done talking. Thought he muted himself and turned off his camera. Which he didn't. He turns around and yells FCK this stupid ass class during his own group's presentation. As a class member, I was in awe of what just happened. In summary, we were having a really boring long class and the professors were giving out nonsense advice on our work. One of my friends turned around to where his mom was, off screen, and said this is the worst f***ing Zoom class I've ever taken. Everyone just went silent. I started talking to my dog Luke and telling him what a good boy he is when I realized that my mic was. It was me. Had a live lesson. Had to sh*t. I personally found out my mic was on whilst yelling to my mother about how Russia was in Asia. Somebody was playing WAP in their background while asked a question. My parents kept coming in to ask how it was going and what I was doing. And to keep looking at the screen and kept trying to wave at everyone. I explained how our computer doesn't have a webcam. And they can see her. My mom says oh. Okay. She walks out. She walks back and about half an hour later. She walks over to again. Ask what we were doing. She sees some kid. And I don't know why. But she says ew. What's wrong with that kid's face? First off, none of the kids had any defects or anything. I guess she just thought they were ugly. IDK. Don't even know who she was talking about. Everyone looked fine. I look up at her and say what the heck? Mom. What? I thought you said we didn't have a webcam. Me. Yeah. They can't see you. But they can still hear you. Mom. Ooh. Then walked away. Still don't know who she was talking about. But yeah. Now everyone knows I have an arsehole mom. Student in a class ITA for left his mic on and we could hear him talking to his roommate. Dude to roommate. Bro, I tried to give her a 4 loco but she didn't want it. Me. Hey dude, can you mute your msaw? RM. Bro, you should break up with her. Dude. Bro, I want nachos. Luckily the meeting host muted him for everyone's sake. He still wanted nachos according to the meeting chat some time later. A girl in my class decided to rip a gigantic colossal fart on mic and the teacher had to mute everyone's mics to stop their laughing. At the beginning of the semester I sent out an email with a joke about still having to wear pants for class over Zoom. It didn't occur to me that people may need to be reminded to wear shirts. And I really, truly, did not expect to have to send a notice to my students telling them not to smoke weed during class. Edit. For people complaining that it's their own house. It's illegal in this state. It's against school policy. And it's a recorded video everybody in the class has access to. All it takes is somebody passing it to the administration out of spite to cause problems. They need to not be f***ing stupid. And at least turn the camera off for 30 seconds. This one time I was in my AP history class and while the teacher was lecturing, one of my peers was doing the jerk without realizing that his camera was turned on. We didn't see his dick but his hand was moving in an up and down motion. I don't think the teacher noticed him till he was done lecturing us on homework when he calls out the student saying that his camera was turned on. He then said oh sh*t and left the class entirely. All of us were speechless and the teacher ended the meeting. Our teacher was explaining the gruesome details about the Holocaust and the millions that suffered through it while someone was jerking off. One of my classmates was having sex while on a Zoom class. She had her mic on and it wasn't that hard to guess. Considering the moaning. It was very awkward and as soon as everyone realized what was going on the professor muted her. It just happened to me. Mike's Go team and I were playing when our chemistry teacher called 4 of us. If you aren't familiar with Go, a team has 5 players. So we went to a private Google Meet. While we were talking with him, the other friend was hearing everything through Discord. And he shouted AW what cocksucker is teacher's name. Apparently someone's noise suppression failed and he heard him. Edit. I always listen to music in the background. Weird that nobody, including the teacher, said something. That's hella distracting. Even if they enjoyed the music. It had to sound like shti through the computer. My professor had some scantily clad anime girls in his YouTube recommendations and tried to play it off as if he didn't notice it. One time, a kid thought their mic was muted and was talking serious shti about the teacher, making fun of the teacher's looks, claiming the teacher was balding, ugly, gross. It was so sad. We all accidentally talked shti about the kid who said the stuff about our teacher to get back at him. He ended up dropping the class this Monday. Me. I had started up the mic and video for a review class for one of my exams back in April. About a minute later I saw my cat crawling towards me. And usually by giving him an angry face he would back off when I am working on my laptop. This time he jumped onto the arm of the chair I was sitting in. I said to him, "You butt," and then remembered that I just said that with the video and mic on. I reached out to shut down my video only to see that I was put on mute and the instructor is laughing as my cat starts playing and attacking my hand and arm. All I could do was laugh and show off my cat. I was giving a presentation in one of my grad classes and sharing my screen at the time. I have a Mac with iMessage. My best friend, also a student in the same grad department, started texting me detailed updates on a genital cyst situation they were experiencing. The messages were showing up in the corner of my screen while I was sharing for all to read. This was right at the beginning of Rona and so I wasn't used to doing screen sharing and I just started panicking and saying I want this to stop. I do not want this. Finally figured out how to stop sharing my screen and just didn't finish my presentation. My friend who was texting is a notoriously private person. RIP. Now I have my iMessage settings fixed so the content of the messages doesn't appear in the preview when I receive them. Live and learn. At work the other day one of my co-workers forgot to mute his microphone and we heard him talking to his son, who is a toddler. We heard, "Come here little man. What's up? Want some applesauce?" Then someone mentioned their mic was on and I couldn't stop craving applesauce the rest of the day. Not me. But in Brazil some videos became viral. A minister of the Brazilian government was in a Zoom call when they realized one of the present guys was taking shower in front of the camera. A public college meeting was being held by the administration. And they were discussing. When a man starts mentioning how women, the one talking, was a stupid MF. Calling he so many names. Dumb bitch. Etc. He didn't know his mic was on. An important meeting. IDK what was about. And one guy forgot to turn off his camera. I'm in college and whenever I unmute myself to answer a question, my 4-year-old daughter runs over and yells poopy butts. Full stop. Masturbating under his desk while the teacher was talking about her mother who had recently passed away. College student here. Was on a call for my astronomy class. I have since dropped it, which was a lecture of about 150 students. Our professor wasn't the most tech-savvy individual and hadn't quite grasped the concept of being able to mute the class. The first class. Some kid was unmuted, likely a freshman, and his mom was watching the lecture with him, making comments about damn near everything the professor said. You would hear her say, "Oh wow. That's really interesting. Did you know that?" I didn't know that, followed by him getting increasingly frustrated with her. So I did. I was in the middle of calling my friend saying this class f***ing sucks when my buddy texted me saying, "You know your mic is on, not even joking." I dropped the class after that. A teenage student of mine decided to try a shirt her grandmother had just brought her. She thought she wasn't in the camera scope and proceeded to go topless. I screamed and shut her video down. Only one student saw and told their mom while the meeting was going on. I tried to keep going as we still had about 10 minutes before break, but I kept wanting to laugh from nervousness. The mom of the kid who saw said a girl showed her titties, mayo, and all I wanted was for break time to come like the rapture. Finally break starts and I laugh for the whole 10 minutes. Unsure of how I should proceed.